I call myself a fine art wildlife photographer, because it's slightly different from a conventional wildlife photographer. When people hear wildlife photography, they have like a preconception of what it is, in my opinion, and or in my experience, and it's very often documentary. You know, you have seen documentaries on TV, you have read National Geographic, and all those kind of things. So people automatically go there, and they think that a wildlife photographer is doing that, and that is rightly so. That's what most people do, document nature, and I do that too. But I try to explain my work as I'm shooting for the wall, in the sense that when I do my work, I keep in mind that hopefully someone would like to hang this on their wall. And then you have to work slightly different, in my opinion. You have to think differently. The concepts are different. You have to go away from slightly from the interesting behavior and rare species and these kind of things, and focus on other things. And that's where my interpretation of fine art comes in. So a fine art wildlife photographer. Fine art, if you look it up online, it's a very fluffy subject or title. It has a lot of meanings, but I interpret it as something that's, in my world, something that people want to hang on the wall, basically. I mean, wildlife photographer can normally a wildlife photographer would be very interested in lions killing a zebra, for example, because the interesting behavior and it's fascinating to see and all that. But it wouldn't do very well on the wall in someone's home, a zebra full of blood and so on. So
Well, maybe in someone's home.
yeah, probably. Yeah, definitely. There would always be someone, but I think that's a good way of showing the difference. I rather have majestic portraits of the lion before the hunt than the actual hunt, so to speak. So yeah, I would describe myself as a fine art wildlife photographer.
So you're looking after aesthetics and beauty, so to
Yeah,
say.
exactly. Very often portraits. Um, and yeah, exactly. Like more the aesthetics than what actually is on the picture. Um,
For it to look good, as you say, on the wall.
yeah, exactly. And then you have to think slightly different. I mean, I had a private client. We went to Kenya last August, and we had that specific thing happening. And we came across a pride of lions, and they were in hunting mode during the day, which is, it's not extremely rare, but normally they hunt at night. So we came across this pack of the pride of lions hunting, and she was obviously extremely excited. The first time she sees something like this, and it's extremely fascinating how the females circle the prey and the strategy involved and so on. But I looked back and I see this big male, because the male normally don't take part in the hunts. They wait for the females to hunt. And he sits on top of a termite mound, very close to the road, with a beautiful cloudy sky at the background and a small cub next to him. And for me, that is, perfect. I could just drive down there get very close, a low angle, because he's sitting high up. I can shoot up and I get this beautiful sky in the background, and that concept with the big strong male and the cub next to him. But she said, no, let's see the hunt. She wanted to see the hunt. So obviously she was the client, so we had to do what she wanted to do, obviously. But that describes for me the difference between a more documentary wildlife photographer and someone who's more interested in the aesthetics and the fine art bit, so to speak.
How close it's possible to get to a wild animal? As in
You
your
can,
previous example, for example, how close you could
Well,
actually get to a lion?
you can get almost within touching distance if you sit in the car. uh, you, there are a few rules on safari which are very important.
Sorry.
Uh,
It's
and
a
one of
very
those is
good,
that you're not allowed to get out of the car,
which makes sense.
which for obvious reasons. But you would be surprised how many people don't understand that simple rule.
That's why you
They
have rules.
yeah, exactly. And obviously, if there's an accident, there's going to be a lot of problems for the operator and obviously for the victim, so to speak, and it's going to be a lot of problems. But if you stick in the car, for one reason or the other, the animals don't really understand that you are a potential food source when you are in the car. They just see this big thing as something that they have seen all their life most of the time, because they grew up with vehicles around them, most of them, and they don't really get it. The same if you are in a tent. We normally sleep in tents, not the small tents that you stay in your garden. It's big. They call them Hemingway tents with beds inside. There's a shower and everything. But the lion can easily get into that if they want to, but they don't. They can walk outside sometimes and so on. And again, they don't realize somehow. When they cannot see it, so they don't realize. But yeah, you can get very close in that sense. Then other animals, if you do your research, you can get very close also on foot sometimes. There is one, I have a few photos of an elephant called Craig. His name is Craig. These famous elephants and famous animals, they very often have names, either due to researchers doing their work or, one reason or another. And he's one of the very, very few big tuskers left in the world, in Africa. There's only about 20 to 25 left with these massive tusks. And he's very relaxed around people for one reason or another. I don't really know why. He's old. He's 52 years old now, and you can actually get out of the vehicle and photograph him from the ground if you want. Because as a photographer, you very often want to get low, and in a safari vehicle, you're often very high. So
Why is that? In order for the angle, angle is
yeah,
better from the.
yeah, in all kind of photography, you want to be eye level. If you photograph something living, you want to be eye level. If I photograph, that's one of the biggest mistakes parents do when they photograph their children. They photograph from a bird's eye view because we are taller than the children. They photograph down. The easiest way to get better pictures of your children is to bend down, and so you have eye contact. And the same with animals. Most animals are smaller, lower than us, especially if we sit in a big safari vehicle. And obviously, elephants, giraffes, and these kind of animals are taller than us anyway. But you still would like, or not always, but you get this when you're low on the ground and photographing upwards. You get that different perspective, which gives the images a slightly different feel, especially when you photograph big, powerful animals.
That is it true that if you take a picture from below up, the object looks bigger as well?
Yeah,
You
you
kind
get
of make it a bit.
yeah, exactly. I mean, they do the same tricks. These are sort of photography and videography tricks that photograph from below and up. The subject looked big and mighty. So they often do that in films when they're going to film a hero having a speech, for example, like I don't know, Braveheart or Gladiator or something. When he does a big speech, you photograph him from below and up, so he looks big and mighty, or she, or whatever it is. So yeah.
You mentioned before a lion and a cub,
Mhm.
strong and next to it very fragile. Is a message important for you? to capture a message in your photographs?
Yeah, I mean, I think in all photography, not only mine, a successful photo or image, even if you do it, if you draw it or do it digitally or whatever you're doing, it has to have some kind of maybe not message, but we very often talk about stories. So you have to convey something to the consumer of this image, whatever it is. It could be that the person feels, confused, scared, happy, awe-inspired. We have to convey something so that that person stops that extra seconds to look at what you have created. Because especially in today's day and age with millions of images floating around everywhere on Instagram, on newspapers, TV, whatever it is, you have to stand out, which is the biggest problem. So yes,
And
you have
what
to
and
show something.
what and what actually stands out
That's
of
the $1 million
photography
question.
like yours from social media ones where you have millions of filters, millions of how to do a perfect photography? What do you think? What's is it the physical element that your pictures can be seen, even can be touched, can become closer? They're not on the screen, but they're on the wall. There is a bit different dimension to it. What do you think about it?
Number one, I mean, as you mentioned, for me, a picture not ready until it's printed. Uh, it's one thing to take the picture. That's an art in itself. There's another art in actually the printing. It's not as easy as people think. You don't just press print. There's a lot of things you have to choose the paper. You have different papers. If you print the same picture on different papers, they look completely different. Completely different, with the contrast and blackness, and there's so many different things. Now we're obviously into small details which most people wouldn't bother about, but I do this for a living. So for example, if you print on a cotton paper, you have no reflections at all. If you print on a but then the blacks gets a little bit gray. If you print on a barium paper, a baryta paper, which is coated with barium, you get extremely black blacks, so to speak. So that is one of the things, how to print it. And as you said, the physical thing, that is actually something you can touch. It's not just on your screen and so on. But the actual picture, yes, that is the $1 million questions for everyone. Whether you are a professional photographer, or you are a painter, or you are a social media influencer, whatever you are, you have to take pictures which stands out. And yes, that is the problem. And for me, I mean, I take a lot of pictures every year, and every time I go, for example, to Africa or wherever I'm going. Mainly I'm photographing in Africa. So I go there, and if I come home after 10 days with 1 or 2 images, which are great, I'm happy. If I can produce 5 images a year, which stands the test of time, it's an excellent year. It's not just to rock up in a vehicle and snap a few pictures and go home again. There's so much more involved to get those strong images, especially of animals, which you cannot control. If you're going to take photos of, I don't know, a hotel room, because you're a travel influencer or something like that, you can set things up, you can control things. I cannot control anything, because animals don't follow any scripts. So in my world, patience is the name of the game. You have to wait and wait and wait, and then when everything one time, if it happens, everything comes together, you have to take the picture. And if you, sorry if you screw it up that time, you have to wait again, maybe years. I mean, I have one picture which I took in October last year. I went to Africa to photograph elephants just for 10 days, just elephants. And I had one image in mind. And it took me basically, I think it was on the last day or maybe the second day from the end of the whole trip where I managed. I got loads of opportunities, but there's always something going wrong. I wanted elephants in a single file on a row and a bit bent like this, so you see all the elephants. And there's so many things that has to come together. The elephants obviously has to come on a line, which they don't always do. The first elephant needed to have a decent set of tusks. I wanted the first elephant to have their ears out, flap their ears, because that is the traditional way we see elephants, with the ears out, which is not normally how they are. They normally have the ears back. So once in a while they flap them. So I wanted them to flap the ears just as when they were close enough. I didn't want any other cars coming close, so they scare away the animals. I needed it to be a bit cloudy. I needed the elephants to go on not with equal distance in between them, so it looks like a good composition like that. And not in a place where there's not full of bushes and trees and so on, which sort of obscures the elephants. I needed to be close because I wanted to take it with a wider angle lens on the camera, not one of those massive long lenses, because you get a totally different perspective. And to do that, I needed to be somewhere where the elephants cross the road, because you're not allowed to drive off-road in these places. So there's a lot of things which has to come together at the same time to get that image.
Yeah.
You cannot just come up. You can take photos of elephants in 10 minutes if you go to this place. It's not a problem. But if you want that specific image that you have sort of visioned in your head, you have to spend time. And that's what most people don't do.
So sometimes you already know what you want. And then you wait for the, as you said, for the conditions to be in the right order.
Yeah.
To get that, now I understand why you can wait for years.
Yes.
Because what you described is detailed.
It's like winning the lottery. So yes, exactly. Sometimes you drive around and you come across something and it's an amazing.
There is randomness when, as with that lion. I guess it was a random thing when you saw that's a good.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good picture.
But
how often? Yeah, sorry.
No, but now, for example, I didn't get that image because the clients wanted to be somewhere else. But that image is now stored up here. So next time I go, I would look for that sort of image idea that I have stored in my sort of mental image bank, so to speak. Yes, sometimes you come across something and it's like, oh, wow, this was good. But very often I have these numbers of ideas in my head and I actively go out to look for that kind of images and go to the places where the chance of getting that image is the best. So obviously, if I wanted to take images of elephants, I went to the place where it's probably the best place in the world to photograph elephants, because the best chance of getting good images is obviously there and nowhere else. So yes, there is this sort of randomness. You just drive out and drive around, but very often that doesn't really give any good results. You need to have a clear view of what you want to do, and then you go after that, so to speak.
That's well, because obviously now you know that I assume certain photographs are selling better than others. Certain compositions, let's call it that way. Does that influence your choices of what kind of pictures to take or not?
I mean, I think we all get influenced. If I say I don't get influenced by others, I think I would be lying. I mean, we all, even if I don't actively go out and say I'm going to take that image like someone else took. number one, it wouldn't be possible because there's always going to be something which is different in nature. It's another thing if you work in a studio or something where you can almost set it up exactly. But in nature, you can almost not get exactly the same. But yes, there are obviously this Craig, for example, which I mentioned before, this elephant that you can get very close to. He's very famous. So there's a lot of photographers photographing him. So taking close-up photos of him in itself is nothing unique. There's many photographers doing that. But yes, you have your ideas. Whether they'll be the same as someone else's, I don't know. But I don't actively go out to look for something exactly like I've seen. I get influenced by something, but you obviously want to put your own twist to it if you can.
How often do you go to Africa?
It varies. I mean, I work as a guide on photography tours.
What's that? So
It's like
you take people for take pictures for social media.
not social media. It's normally other photographers.
No, sorry, I made a joke.
No, there are also those. I've had people who only come with an iPad. Actually, she had. She was an artist, so she actually got amazing pictures because she had the vision, but she didn't have the long lenses and all that kind of thing. So, but yeah, no. So I work as a guide, take other photographers on a safari. So it's basically a safari, but with photographers. So we focus on photography. So there I go regularly. It depends. Sometimes it's once a year with that. Sometimes it's 3 or 4 times a year. And then I go, apart from that, I also go on my own. Because when I go with clients, you obviously have to do what they want to do. And that is not always what I want to do.
Do you advise them sometimes, well, as a guide, or tell them, listen, maybe this is,
yeah, exactly.
you should do that, or this is the better angle? And do they listen actually to you, or it's...
Yes, they are. It's like a workshop very often. So yes, they do listen. But it's very often a variety. It could be totally beginners who has no idea how to put in the batteries in the camera, for example. And then there, in the same trip, there could be very advanced people, which you don't really have to give advice as such. You just have to take them to the places and so on. So it's and everything in between, obviously. So yeah, no, it's normally very interesting trips because it's such a variety between the skills, and also even me after 3-4 days, sometimes you lose inspiration and say, what else can I do with this? Because you have done everything you feel, and then you have like image reviews in the evening and so on, and someone else took a picture and said, wow, that's something different. I can work with that and do something different. So everyone sort of inspires each other after a few days, because in the beginning everything is new and everything is fantastic for everyone and so on. So yeah.
So you take as well pictures while you are guiding them?
Yes,
Or at the
but
same, you
I
are...
take I take images myself, but obviously I have to make sure that they get in the best position, and then I have to take the leftovers, shooting underneath elbows and the wrong side
So then,
sometimes.
for your own, you go separately.
Yeah, I mean,
When
I get
you...
you get good images sometimes. Like last time, I only had one client, so we can decide much easier what we want to do. It's not so many wills, so to speak. Then you can take good images, but people who go on these very often is once in a lifetime kind of thing. So they want to see everything in those 10 days or whatever it is, 2 weeks or whatever. So it's a very obviously they want to see the zebras, they want to see lions, they want to see elephants, they want to see everything. But I have seen all those things, so that is not so interesting for me. I'm more focused on one. I'm there to work when I go on my own, so I can focus. Like 10 days with elephants only, not many other people would like to join me on that because they want to see other things. So then I combine those trips, which obviously a great source of income for me because I get paid, I can take my own pictures, blah, blah, blah. And Then I combine them with my own trips where I go on my own. Then I can do exactly what I want myself.
The most bizarre experience you had in Africa? Probably many.
Uh, Bizarre, I don't know, but there are obviously exciting things happening when you are there, obviously. But again, if you follow the rules, you don't get those scary moments. But one of the most memorable, there are many memorable experiences, obviously. Number one is this. I met him a number of times. This elephant Craig, where you walk just 2, 3, 4 meters away from him in the wild. He's one of the biggest elephants in the world, and he's totally chill with it. He has no problems with you being there, and you know that if he wants to hurt you, he can hurt you in 1 second. So that is quite an inspiring experience, so to speak. He's one of the very, very few elephants you can do that with. Elephants is one of the most dangerous animals in Africa, believe it or not. They together with hippos and buffaloes are the ones that kills the most people in Africa. So a normal elephant will either run away or attack you if you get out of the vehicle, but not this elephant. So it's number one, it's an amazing experience, but it's also good for photography, obviously, because you can get different types of images. But also, I had an experience with a buffalo actually last year. They are very dangerous. They call them the widow maker.
Why is that?
Because they kill so many people, and mostly men. Because there's mostly men around, walking around with cattle or out hunting.
The
Or
local people who live there.
Yeah. And as I said, you're not supposed to get out of the vehicle, but as long as the local guide doesn't tell you that it's okay if you're having breakfast or you need to go to the toilet or whatever. So we were going to go down to the Mara River and taking photos of hippos and crocodiles from on top on the bank, river bank. And he said, "Yeah, you can get out now. It's okay." And we went out, and all of a sudden I hear this massive noise in the bushes next to me, and I just saw something big black, flashing by, and I just, jumped around the vehicle and got in again quickly. And it was a buffalo. He was probably sleeping, and he didn't see us, and we didn't see him, and he probably got just as scared as we did, because he just stood up and just ran away. But that was quite of a sort of humbling moment. Almost had to change underwear.
So to speak. Did they ever attack the vehicle in your presence?
No, I never had any. Again, very often that when that happens, it's because the guide. Normally, you have a local guide and a driver with you. Normally, not always, but normally it is when the guide has not done the right thing. He didn't read the signs and haven't been careful enough. So it's accidents that happen, but no, never happened to me. No. We also had. I remember we had very often where you live, there is no fences, so animals can come in and out of the camps. Very often you have, when you open the tent in the morning, you have 2 zebras staring at you in the morning, and then they get scared and they run away. Very often.
So you're basically living in nature.
Yes. But animals very often keep away because they know that there are humans there, and most animals have a natural fear for humans, so they try to stay away.
Smart.
But sometimes at night when it's quiet, they come up and they roam around the tents and so on. And then when you wake up early in the morning, you pull up the zip and they get startled, and they stare at you for 2 seconds, and then they run away. But once we had, very often these lodges, as they're called, are situated. You have like a big tent in the middle where you have breakfast and you eat, and it's like a reception, small bar sometimes. And then you have like satellite tents on the outside where you live. So once we were sitting in this tent to have dinner, it was dark outside and we had to go back to the tent. And just outside, there were fresh leopard tracks, just 2 meters outside of the tent, or 3. And what was interesting was that we could see, or the locals, they could see that the leopard didn't stop, didn't run, didn't sit down, nothing, just walked past like this. And obviously, he or she could see us, smell us, hear us, everything, but they don't bother much. They just walk. He just walked past. So yeah, those kind of experiences you have almost all the time. Or I
What
had a client, she couldn't sleep during the night. She came to the breakfast all tired. She said, "What happened?" "I couldn't sleep." Why? Because she said, she had a buffalo leaning on the tent, so the tent was inwards like that, and next to her bed. So, and she said that this buffalo was snoring all night. It was just probably breathing heavily, but so she was scared and excited and scared at the same time. So she couldn't sleep.
There
But
are a
that's,
lot of noises. I guess there are a lot of noises which, if you sleep and you are there first time,
yeah,
it must be overwhelming with
yes,
that all, because there is, day life, but there is also nightlife.
yeah, probably more life at night than during the day, to be honest. And also at night there is no other sounds, so it's very very quiet in that sense. But then you have all the other noises of animals. So yes, it can. I never have any problems because I sleep so deeply. So which is a pity sometimes because I don't wake up when there are interesting things. Everyone comes out in the morning. Oh, did you hear the lion roaring at night? No, I slept. I sleep very deep. So yeah, but you hear at night. I have heard it myself, but not as often as I want to. Hyenas, lions, all the small critters, the some birds, and so on. So there's a lot of noise during the night. Yes.
Did you ever went yourself into the wilderness without a guide,
If I did
just by
what?
yourself? By yourself? Did you went
Uh,
go?
I mean, no, not really, because most of the times you have to have a local driver. Number one, you need a vehicle, which is big, massive Toyota Land Cruisers, which you can rent yourself probably. But I am there to work, not to have an adventure or holiday. So I don't want to drive myself because I don't want to get stuck. I don't want to get lost. I don't have those. I'm there to work, so I want things to actually function. I want things to work smoothly. That's another thing people ask me very often, where to go and all these kind of things. But for me, I need to go somewhere where I know that things work. I want it to be safe. I want there to be reasonable electricity supply, food, proper food, so I don't get sick. Uh, Preferably Wi-Fi, but it's not that important. And there is like cars, if they break down, you need to be able to get new parts or a new car or something like that. So I don't want to go out in the middle of nowhere where I am totally alone. I would love to do that, but then it's a different type of experience. I very often go to Kenya because I know Kenya a little bit. I've been there quite a few times. I know that it works. I go to the same places because I know the food is good. I never get sick. Electricity is good. I need to sleep properly at night, so I'm fresh in the morning. So it's a different type of sort of planning. So for me, a lion in Kenya looks the same as a lion in Tanzania. So why go to different places? Yes, you can go to different places if you want a different environment and stuff like that. But yeah, so, and also obviously, elephants. Amboseli National Park in Kenya, for example, is one of the best places in the world to photograph elephants. Yes, then I go there. If that was in Tanzania, I would have gone there. But just not. I don't just go to a new place for the sake of seeing something new.
Think of going.
Yeah.
What have you learned through these numerous trips you had about nature and perhaps about yourself? Because definitely there was this aspect. But you also saw, how it's probably even changing. I guess it's
Yeah, I mean, I was always interested in nature from a very young age. I grew up in Sweden. I'm Swedish. Um, and, there it's a little bit different than it is here in Malta. I mean, we grew up in nature, out in the forest and playing and so on. So I was always interested in nature and so on. But then obviously you grow up and there is schools and university and a bit of partying and these kind of things come in between. And then you
yes.
sort of, I think many people sort of go back to how they were before, back to the roots, so to speak, although I'm in a different country. But I remember the first time I went to Africa, you get a totally different view of things because I've seen probably all the documentaries you could see about Africa, National Geographic and all these BBC and all these documentaries. But it's totally different to be there because it's not on a screen anymore. You are there. I never forget the first time I saw elephants. We saw elephants very far away on the Savanna. And elephants tend to walk straight. When they are going somewhere, they walk very, very straight because they don't want to waste time and energy. So we could sort of predict where they were going. So we drove in front of them and waited. And they just came towards us, and then they they saw our car, so they just walked like this and then joined together again. So at one point we were in the middle of this small herd of elephants. And I never forget how quiet it was. Because elephants are very, very quiet when they walk. You think that these 5-ton animals will make a big noise when they're coming. No, it's like they basically walk on pillows. So there's no noise, footsteps and so on. You hear their breathing and if they communicate with each other and stuff like that. But it was so quiet. I never forget that. That was 12 years ago now. And I still remember it like yesterday. So you get a sort of a newfound sort of respect for these animals or new experiences, and obviously it's staying just a few meters away from from a lion walking on the road, and you are in the car just next to it, and they don't bother. They're just there. They don't even look at you. So you get this new sort of respect for these animals, and obviously you think differently about these animals in the future. In
Are you
January,
afraid that they will vanish? Do you
yes,
think it's
exactly.
coming?
Yeah, I mean, it's just if things don't change, they will vanish. I mean, elephants, I read somewhere in the 1900s, we had 10 million elephants, and now it's down to 375,000. Lions 50 years ago was, I think, 100 or 200,000 lions all over Africa. Now there's maybe down to 15,000 left in small pockets here and there. So it's also a problem with the gene pool because a small population of lions, they're supposed to mix with other prides, and one is kicked out and it goes take over another pride, mate with the females, and the genes are mixed. Now they are in one area, so it's the same genes. So it's a problem with the gene pools in certain areas and so on. But yeah, you get a newfound sort of respect for these people, and I mean, in January 2022, I was in Uganda, for example, and I was hiking with the mountain gorillas. And you visit the mountain gorillas. That was probably the most sounds stupid maybe, but life-changing experience. It sounds bigger than it is maybe, but it was an
In which
incredible
sense?
experience. Because I am used to animals always running away from me. I have to invent ways to get close to the animals, with them being safe, with me being safe, and they being relaxed so I can take photos and so on. That's what I've for the last 10 years. That's what I've been doing. But gorillas, these are obviously gorillas which are used to humans, because that's a way for them to preserve, to keep them safe from poachers and so on. But you could stay there and they don't. They just go around their daily life 2 meters away from you, eating, fighting, playing with the young ones are playing, and you just sit there and you are accepted. You never, very, very rarely, you are accepted. Otherwise, you just, they run away from you. But there, no one ran away from you. There was 10 or 12 gorillas in this group, and they just eat and play and whatever they're doing, and you just sit there in the middle and take photos and so on. So,
Your
and also,
distant relative, huh?
exactly, and also you recognize all the behavior that they do. You could see basically in yourself or in your surroundings. They check their fingernails, and they get something out of their eye, and all these kind of things that we do, they also do, but they are animals. So it was a very special experience, that's for sure. Definitely.
What's
So yeah,
what,
you have this respect, and you have this feeling that you really want them to still exist 100 years from now, which I don't think you get the same feeling when you only watch it on TV. It's
you
a
don't get this, as you said, small experiences. You don't hear per se because it's edited on a video how quiet an elephant.
yeah.
By the way, I wanted to ask you, what's the loudest animal you have experienced?
Uh, Elephants are very loud when they want to be, in the sense of their trumpeting and so on. But also lions. Lions are. It's also an experience you have seen many times on TV and something, but you can never explain that to someone in words. When you have a lion, it doesn't even have to be very close to you, even a big distance away, and they roar. They communicate, especially the males. They communicate to other males around, saying, "I am here. This is my area. Keep away," basically. And they have this dark, deep roar. And if you're close enough, your chest will vibrate because it's such a deep sort of sound.
Strong.
So yeah. That is great, and you will never experience that on TV because it
I
cannot.
watched. I recall I watched a documentary about lions, and it's incredible distances they walk around their territory.
Yeah.
They urinate it, they roar it. It's a constant. It's a
Yeah, for them, it's
constant
a
walk
tough
for
life.
them.
It's a tough life for the males, especially. The females take care of the cubs and they hunt, which is also dangerous. And then the male, they patrol the territory all the time. And then when
They
they can
fight.
also hunt, but normally the females hunt. Then they just come and take the food.
Yeah. They also fight. The males, they do fight with each other, and they even form groups and
Hmm.
attack. Like several males can attack one, and it's
Yeah, we have this sort of.
brutal.
Yeah, it's brutal. Yeah, we have this conception that there's one male dominating a pride. Uh, it can be, it often is, but very often it's also two or three or even
Mhm.
four males. That very often brothers who grew up together and they took
Mhm.
over a pride together, and they
Mhm.
share the females, so to speak.
Yeah,
Um and obviously, they can defend that pride much easier than if they were alone.
yeah, of
Because they
course.
have
It's the
three or four.
numbers.
So it's a very successful way of doing it. And it's very, very common. And in some areas, lions don't behave in the same way either. Sometimes these prides are a bit floating. Very often it's one pride here, one pride there, and they don't want to cross each other's territory because it's dangerous and so on. But in some areas, there are also a bit more floating. Uh, even members of prides going into two different prides and stuff like that. So it's quite a complex sort of.
Social network.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, hyenas can attack lions. It's
Yes,
true.
yes, they can, but they have to be many.
Yeah,
But they can, yeah. I mean, also the pride males are very often on their own. They're not with the rest of the pride. They're not with the females because they're out on their own. So then they can be vulnerable either to other lions or to hyenas, or to, especially if it's injured, if it's slightly injured. It
yeah.
can be even for buffaloes, for example, are very dangerous for lions, especially young ones. So yeah, no, hyenas can definitely kill lions if they enough of them.
You take predominantly black and white photographs, and then some colored ones. Why? What's the difference, and what's the thought behind your choice to take black and white, for example, portraits?
There are a number of different sort of reasons behind it. Black and white for me, number one, as a photographer, you go through phases because we develop as people and as photographers all the time. We evolve, so to speak. It's like you probably don't do your job the same way as you did 10 years ago, because you have learned something, you have been influenced by other people, you are curious about new things, and so on. So that's number one. But I'm doing black and white now for quite some time. I used to do a lot of more experimental photography, let's say 3-4 years ago, with long shutter speeds. The images looks a bit blurry, a bit like more artistic, maybe some people like to call it, and so on. So you go through these sort of phases, so to speak. But black and white, I always loved it. It's for me, it's more sort of naked photography. You get rid of some distractions. Color can be a distraction sometimes. You often hear, "Oh, what a lovely photograph! What beautiful colors!" Yeah, okay, but it's almost, for me, that's almost an insult, because colors, I can just photograph something colorful and it becomes a good photograph. No, not really. So when you strip away the colors, you have the bare minimum left, which is more important, like with, for me, composition, the message you want to convey, because the message is still there whether it's color or black and white, in my opinion. You also have a sense of timelessness with black and white photography. It gives we call it timelessness. It's like, it's harder to say when the photograph was taken, in a way, because black and white could be 100 years ago and it could be tomorrow. Colors, automatically you have a date when you started taking colored photographs. Plus it gives that sense of history almost, for me. But the biggest reason for me is that you strip away the colors. You only have composition, texture, patterns, and the message that you want to convey. You only have that left. You cannot lean on the nice colors. Some
But there
photographs.
is, but there is all, but there is obviously a lot of editing in black and white, as you said.
There's a lot of editing in all photos, whether black and white or color.
It's not that you took a picture, made it black and white, and that's
No,
it.
no, and that wouldn't be the case even if it was in color, because this is always a discussion. In nature photography, we do the bare minimum. If you join competitions, for example, you're not allowed to do almost anything with your photographs. because they're supposed to document what you actually saw. In the other types of photography, like fashion photography, I have this flying. Fashion photography or product photography or something like that, you can do whatever you want. No one is bothered. But in nature photography or documentary photography, like news and so on, there are other unwritten rules what you can and cannot do. Obviously, with today's way of editing and so on, you can do whatever you want. I can insert an elephant in a picture and no one would notice.
I
So
guess you can create a picture nowadays and nobody would notice. So you
yeah,
don't need even to take them. You just do it from your flat.
yeah, exactly. You can do that. But
How do you then distinguish? I mean, because probably people try to do that. How is it still possible to distinguish it, that it's not real? Are there small hints, or
yeah, I
it's
get
a
it.
matter of trust?
Yeah, it's getting harder and harder. And for me, it's probably easier because I sit and work with photos all the time, all day long. So I can spot relatively easy most of the time, I think. Uh, uh,
Yeah,
when
you never know with
no,
artificial intelligence, especially you.
exactly. With an AI image, a couple of months ago, I think I could spot them all. But my wife would never be able to spot them. For example, she says, "Oh, that's pretty," and I say, "Oh, that's AI. Don't you see it's AI?" No, she cannot see it because
You
I
have a
still work with this.
trained eye. You have a
Yeah,
trained eye.
just a second. There we go.
That's preservation.
Yeah. Yes. No, so it's becoming a problem, and give it another year or two, and it's going to be almost impossible for anyone to see.
I
Uh,
guess it with everything,
yeah,
with music, with painting, with photography, with writing.
yeah, but it will
Yeah,
never take away the experience when you are taking the photo. But that obviously the person seeing the photo doesn't know.
that's something different. That's the,
Yeah,
as you mentioned, I read it on your website, a creative process of seeing, experiencing, and
yeah,
conveying that message. So seeing and experiencing, it's something actually you.
it's for me. Yeah,
It's for you. It's not when I see the end product. Well, I can have a, well, I obviously know you go there, you took a picture, but I don't
yeah,
know your experience and your, what you went through, maybe for 100 lions to take that picture,
yeah,
bare hand.
exactly. And that is a problem. It's going to be an issue for photography, I think, in the future, and not only for photography, as you said, for videography, for
Art. I would say
art.
art.
Yeah,
As
uh,
we know it, as we know it.
yeah,
Probably, with everything changes.
yeah,
So I have a friend, a good friend, who is actually working with AI and trying to create art from AI with AI's help. So, you know, people will adopt to a certain extent. It's just, I think the question is at what cost, in the name of traditional art, this
yeah,
kind of photography you do, how it will affect it, and to which extent actually.
yeah.
That's a bigger question.
But I see it like this. I mean, I have no problem with AI arts, nothing at all. What I don't like is when people try to pass it off as photography. Um, that's the problem. If you're honest and say, "Listen, I created this with AI," ah, that's amazing. It looks beautiful. Good, great stuff. Because it's also a art, it's just a different type of art. I have no problem with it. But when people are trying to pose it off as as photography, you're fooling the client, so to speak, the one who's going to consume the image. If he thinks it's a photograph and it's not, you've been lying. And I don't think that shouldn't be done. But that will be done. So I can think
Of
whatever I
course,
want.
it's in human
Yeah,
nature to do these things,
exactly. But
unavoidable.
for me personally, I don't think it's going to have an effect because How can I say? If you want to have an elephant on the wall, you can go to posters.com. You buy a poster of an elephant for 49 euros. You put it in a nice frame and you put it on the wall. Yes, we can do
Yeah,
that.
that's very true. That's
Yeah.
very true.
So why should someone buy my photos which cost a lot more than 49 euros?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
actually?
Yes. And this is always the same. I mean, if you want to have a beautiful painting on the wall, again, you can go to somewhere where they have machine-made paintings, and you can buy one for 199 euros, and you
Prince. Prince.
canvas or whatever. Yeah, yeah. But there's even the ones which with actually brush strokes on them, which are made by
Oh
machine.
wow.
So put them on the wall. But those clients, they would never buy my stuff anyway, because they're not
No.
interested in having a 2,000 euro thing on the wall, because either they cannot afford it, they think it's silly to spend that much money on something on the wall. There's a number of reasons why they wouldn't buy
Mm.
it. So those clients who would buy an AI picture without knowing what it is and hang it on the wall, they're not my clients anyway, because the people I sell to are more interested in the actual craft and the fact that it's sometimes, most of the time I sell them in limited edition, so it's like a limited number of
Value.
prints. Yeah,
It
it's
has
like,
a different value
yeah,
because, as you said, limited edition,
ex-
handmade. There is
exactly.
also this aspect of how we call it a cycle. Now I notice that more and more people are taking back the old-fashioned even cameras. Going back to doing the pictures using the chemicals in the
Yeah,
red room.
yeah,
So when you talk about AI, it might bring a new dimension to art and other aspects of
yeah,
our life. But at the same time, we like to go back to things like with retro games, Super Mario when we
yeah,
used to
yeah.
have it with all these things.
No,
So I
it
guess,
becomes it becomes a different. In a way, I think it, for me personally, I think it's good in a way, because there will be some areas of photography which is going to suffer.
mhm,
Product photography, for example, I think is going to suffer. Because if you want a picture of your product, you don't care if it's AI or a photographer did it,
yeah,
because you just want to advertise something, and if it looks the same for you, it's the same.
and
There will
AI
be,
is cheaper,
yeah,
so you go for
it,
the cheaper
there will
version.
be certain brands, maybe the top high-end brands, who wants to pay a photographer to do it exactly how they want it, blah blah blah, and so on.
No,
But
of course.
certain areas of photography will suffer. I think fashion photography will suffer, and so on in the long run. So yeah, and to go back to that black and white where we started this discussion, uh,
Yeah, a detour.
yeah, it's also, um, I live on this. This is my full time job, so there is a balance between the artistry and paying the bills.
That's
Um,
true. Very, very true.
if you do photography for fun, you're just happy to sell something once in a while, because that's nice, some extra money. I buy a new camera or I buy whatever. Uh, but for me, I have to find that balance of doing something that I can stand for. I can stand by it. I said, this is me. I'm proud of it. But it also have to sell at the same
Mm.
time. It's useless for me doing something that only I like and it doesn't sell.
Yeah, yeah.
At the same time, I would refuse to do something just for the sake of selling, because then I'm not an artist anymore. I'm just, I don't know. I'm
A
like
photographer.
a product maker. I don't know. So you have to find that balance, something that you can be proud of, that you can stand by, and something that will actually sell. And in my opinion, black and white, in the type of photos that I sell to hang on the wall, in my experience, my type of photos sell more as a black and white photo as well. So I am happy that they join together. It's the same when you choose subjects. What is going to sell more, an elephant or a snake?
An elephant.
An elephant. So again, I am a bit lucky because I always love those big animals, lions, elephants, rhinos, zebra, those kind of animals. I was never really interested. I like taking photos of those too, but it's not my big passion. The reptiles and the birds and so on. So again, if you're really into reptiles, photograph reptiles, but you're probably not going to sell so many photos to hang on the wall. You might sell them for other reasons, for magazines and articles and so on. There are obviously going to be people who want to have snakes on the wall. It's not that, but it's more people who want to have an elephant on the wall, in my experience. So it's a balance. You have to find that balance between what sells and what you can actually be proud of as an artist, so to speak.
Well, and because we reached the end, I would like to wish you to continue finding this balance.
Thank you.
And work out and continue with your work and finding inspiration.
Yeah, definitely will. It's always inspiring. Once you get there, you find the inspiration. It's not a problem.